Well, many of the country's most vulnerable rely on NGOs to help them survive. But these organizations are struggling to find donations during the lockdown. Well, Tshikululu Social Investment and Solidarity Fund have launched an initiative to assist affected NGOs. Let's chat about this now with Nikki Griffiths from Tshikululu Social Investments. Nikki, good morning and thanks so much for your time. Yes, the question of NGOs and how they're able to continue the vital support that they give is a big question mark at the moment. Tell us what you're doing.
Good morning, Rebecca. No, I think with the NGOs, it's a time that we really realize the role that they play in society. The NGOs have been called to respond to the most vulnerable communities since COVID-19. Many NGOs, their operations have been affected obviously by the lockdown regulations, and they can't reach the people that they usually work with. And then many NGOs are being asked to actually scale up because NGOs are the organizations that are working with the most vulnerable in our society. And they've been called upon to scale up during this time. So specifically, the Solidarity Fund have earmarked money to scale up particular NGOs which are present in the food security sector. And then the other key issues around gender-based violence, where NGOs are playing a key role, as I think you saw about 2 weeks ago that the Minister of Police said that GBV calls had gone up. And so this is a time that the NGOs are playing a critical role in our society.
So tell us how you are assisting. Yes, money is a thing, money, and you know the problem at the moment is we have so many people who are at home. They're going to be home now for even longer than we anticipated with the extension. Is just, you know, where's the most or the bulk of your support coming from, with ordinary South Africans probably not able to contribute as much as they ordinarily would have?
So I think where we're playing a key role is coordinating. What's been incredible has been the goodwill and the amount of donors and individuals that have stepped up, and making sure that we work with networks that already exist. There are a lot of NGOs that have track records and that are able to deliver. And so it's working with donors that are willing to and want to assist and putting them in touch with NGOs that can make a difference. I think the challenge that has been is that we are in a crisis, and South Africa has never faced such a humanitarian crisis. So the need for coordination is critical, but the need to respond quickly is just as important. And balancing those two, not having duplication, but then also responding quick enough is a challenge. I think the state has also played a large role. We know that DSD is rolling out food parcels. And then also to appeal to donors that fund NGOs for their traditional operations, that this is the time to keep funding, because NGOs, just like all of us, have had to make changes and differences, and their programs may have to change at this time to respond to COVID-19 and not necessarily what they were originally funded for.
And Nikki, how are you prioritizing, though, in this time? Because like you say, you know, the domestic violence is on the increase, and you've been watching this morning, you see what's happening in Alexandra, people showing up for food parcels that aren't there, saying that hunger is going to kill them before this actual virus does. How do we prioritize at a time like this who needs us the most?
Rebecca, I think it's very difficult to prioritize because the needs are so big. This is both a health crisis and a socioeconomic crisis. And so it is difficult to prioritize. It's difficult to prioritize food security over gender-based violence. I think we've got to acknowledge that each of these social ills are a priority and attract funding and work with partners that can address them most effectively. We have these networks in South Africa. South Africa is one of the most vibrant NGO networks in Africa. And we need to continue to support the networks that we have in order to address the issues that they know the best about. And I think what's great about the NGOs is they are already in our communities. And that is part of the reason that we've been able to respond so quickly and at scale. But it's very difficult to prioritize one issue or another.
Like you say, it's not just South Africa, it's the world that is learning how to deal with something like this for the first time, Nikki. So very quickly, direct people who are in a position to help you. Where do they go? How do they make their contribution?
I think there's two key ways. Obviously, there's a lot of publicity around the Solidarity Fund, and individuals and organizations can donate directly to the Solidarity Fund, which is a coordinated effort between business, government, and civil society. But also not to underestimate your local communities. Get in touch with the NGOs that are in your communities, the faith-based organizations, and see how you can support at a local level. because often that's where you can have the biggest impact, is in your community, because you know it best and you're able to identify vulnerable people quicker than perhaps at a national or provincial level.
All right, thanks very much for that. Everyone doing their bit. Nikki Griffiths there from the Tshikululu Social Investment Fund. Still on